a drug dealer with an insatiable desire to succeed.
I was going to come here, I was going to do the big score, and I was going to be one of the main distributors in New York City and New Jersey and all those other states.
Plus, former cold case detective and author J. Warner Wallace makes the case for Christian faith on today's 700 Club Interactive. Well, good morning and welcome to the show. Here's a look at this week's top 5 from Studio 5.
At number 5, he's back.
Just in a light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine.
5-year-old worship leader Caleb Serrano goes from Steve Harvey's Little Big Shot show to Harry Connick Jr.
He's sweet, I know, and he's sweet, I know.
At number 4, another return.
Drum roll. Very exciting announcement. We can reveal right here for the first time, ABC is bringing American Idol back. Yay!
The show that discovered Kelly Clarkson, Carrie Underwood, and Jennifer Hudson returns next season, this time to ABC.
The stars discovered on the show have already won 14 Grammys, 2 Golden Globes, and an Academy Award.
Now to number 3.
Hidden Figures!
MTV recognizes film and TV for the first time in its annual award ceremony. And Hidden Figures, a film about 3 black women who changed the history of space exploration, is honored in the new category of Best Fight Against the System.
If it were not for these women, we wouldn't be in space. And not only that, the message of the movie is togetherness. God is very clever. God is very clever. He made us all different for a reason. So we better figure it out.
The award celebrates the work of the underdog in a battle for social justice. Now we turn to number 2.
My left stroke just went viral. Right stroke put little baby in a spiral.
With new music climbing the charts, Grammy-winning hip-hop artist Kendrick Lamar calls on churches to focus more on God's righteous judgment and less on the easier-to-swallow messages of hope found in the gospel.
If what I'm putting in my music is an act of God and He using me as a vessel, what makes me any different from somebody being in church and giving their word? You feel what I'm saying? So that's how I look at it.
Lamar says God is merciful, but He is also just and jealous and demands discipline and obedience. Now we turn to number 1. A massive celebration of the local church is touring the country with singers Lauren Daigle, Jesus Culture, and Elevation Worship.
Outcry is now how old?
2 years old.
Studio 5 caught up with the Outcry founder on the tour's recent stop in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Remind people what the heart of Outcry is. It's not just a tour.
It's not just a tour. For us at Outcry, we care about the local church, and we just think that people have been talking about the local church and the problems of the church and how we're in decline and we're dying. And for us, we go, no. You know, we see in Revelation that the church is there. We're not going anywhere. We're on the winning team. There's no need to feel defensive.
Well, Ephraim joins us now. Thanks for being back with us.
Good to be back. Thank you.
This Outcry tour, is it more of a movement, less of a, quote, concert?
Absolutely. It is indeed a movement. Travels the country. It is right now on the final leg of its East Coast tour. It will now launch on the West Coast. Ryan Romeo, who you saw there, started this because he was working in the local church, still does, as a matter of fact. He's the creative arts director for his church. And he heard all the talk about the church dying and it not being relevant. And he said, okay, the church may have its issues, but we read in the book of Revelation, the church is not going anywhere. It's here to stay. So All of the artists who you see on his stage there, all are very well connected to their local church, and they typically lead worship. He's also got ministers like Stephen Furtick ministering as well, and they travel the country celebrating the local church. A beautiful thing people don't see is they meet with the local pastors before this big time performance every night. So they invite church pastors from the churches in the area, and they minister to them and they feed into them. And it really blesses them. They have met with pastors who said, you know what? I was just about to give up. I was just about to quit. I am so glad you did this, to remind me of the power of the church and that God's calling.
Are they literally performing in churches, or is it local venues?
No, they perform in local venues because it is a massive audience. So they get more people there. But all of the publicity and the reaching out, like you don't hear a lot of publicity about Outcry, and that's because it's done through the local church, because that's what they're there to do, to celebrate the local church and to minister to the needs of the leaders of these local churches who are very often tired and fatigued. When you see the stats of ministers quitting, resigning, just giving up, it's unfortunate. And this is an effort to bridge that and to help quell that, but also to celebrate the power of God.
Let's talk about Kendrick Lamar. We've talked about him before. Were you surprised at this message he's giving about God being jealous and we need holiness and less of this prosperity type happiness gospel? It was
a surprise, but when I went back and listened to his latest album, which title I can't name because it's explicit, but listen to the music in the album, I could see what he was talking about. He wrote a letter to Complex Magazine, which critiqued his music, and in the letter he appreciated their critique, but he explained why he wrote the music he wrote and what he says. He went back recently to a church service as an artist sitting in the audience, and he said he saw the praise dancing and he saw the music and all that was beautiful, but what bothered him was he saw pretty much the same service that he had seen as a kid, and he's now like 27. He saw the same service and he realized something was missing in that service and something was missing in this service. And he struggles with trying to be obedient to God and to live up to what God has called him to do. And he goes, ministers don't preach enough of that God is a God who judges. He is a God who disciplines. And he does say, you reap what you sow. And we don't talk a lot about the consequences of sin. We talk more about the forgiveness of sin.
Interesting, though, that you, at the start of our conversation about him, said you can't even name the title of his album.
Yeah, I know. It's a unique thing. I find him and Chance the Rapper very unique. I long to talk to both of them because there's, of course, profanity and language that I wouldn't repeat in conversation. I don't use that type of language. But I'm okay with my children listening to the music just because the message and the lessons that can be learned from it are so powerful. And they are both definitely men who are growing and struggling with their walk in faith. But I don't doubt the faith of these men and these artists. It is clear.
The film Hidden Figures may not have won an Academy Award, but it still continues to get other accolades. What's the most recent?
Absolutely. The most recent here came from MTV, and it was a celebration of a film that pushes the issue of social justice. We saw Taraji P. Henson there accepting the award, and it's beautiful. And also, we know that we are here in the Hampton Roads area of Virginia, and that is where this film is based. That is where these women lived and worked. And the lone survivor, Katherine Johnson, is going to be speaking and delivering the commencement address at Hampton University. And she is 98 years old. She jokingly said, I'm 98 years old. That's my biggest accomplishment.
Yeah, I saw that watching Studio 5.
Yes, that's her biggest accomplishment, she says. But she'll be at Hampton University in just a matter of days, delivering the commencement address as well.
Now, American Idol is back. I don't know. Are people excited about that? Are you excited about that? You still watch?
I'm excited to see what.
Good Morning America didn't look that thrilled.
No. I think they were playing to the camera. I'm curious, I guess, more so than excited to see what they can do. The show went away, number one. it boiled down to two things: money to produce this show, and also competition. Because now we've, American Idol may have launched the platform, if you will, but you have things like, The Voice, and then NBC did a number of incarnations of this. America's Got Talent. You have all these talent shows that are out there, and it couldn't compete. The numbers were dwindling. They weren't getting the ratings that, that they had in the past. So we will see if a new tweaked version of American Idol will reap the audience that they're hoping for. They don't know who the host is going to be yet, but we now know that, Ryan Seacrest does have a new relationship with ABC, works for ABC doing their morning live show, so he could possibly be a contender. Maybe. I wish. That would be fun to try. But we'll see what happens. It is coming in the fall. It's coming in the fall. Look forward to it.
Thanks, buddy. Well, if you enjoy catching up on all the latest and positive entertainment news, you don't want to miss Studio 5, hosted by Ephraim Graham. You can see it a few different ways on Roku, Apple TV, or go to cbn.com/Studio 5. Well, coming up, he's a former cold case detective who makes a case for reasonable and evidential Christian faith. Author J. Warner Wallace joins us when we return. Well, chances are you've seen forensic crime dramas such as CSI or NCIS. The popularity of such shows appeals to our human desire to have proof. And what better way to explore Christianity than with forensic faith? Take a look. Jim Warner Wallace is a cold case homicide detective and a former atheist.
If you had told me that I was a sinner, I would have laughed at you. I know what sinners look like. They're the folks I take to jail. That's not me. I'm a good guy.
But when Jim started checking out the Bible the same way he investigated a case, the evidence couldn't have been any clearer.
So I was willing to take a step with it and start to examine it as an eyewitness account.
In his book, Forensic Faith, Jim makes the case for Christians to be case makers for Christ and why it's vital to do so right now. J. Warner Wallace is with us now. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
It's so interesting to come across material like yours or Lee Strobel, gentlemen who set out to maybe even disprove the Bible's authenticity and truth, or maybe you went to it with a more open mind and then come out of the experience believers.
Yeah, and Lee's a friend of mine too, and I think our stories are similar, right, in that sense that he was really trying to respond to his wife's interest in the gospel, and I kind of was too. My wife was not a believer, but I think she sensed there was some innate value in religion and Christianity, and from her own upbringing. So she decided we wanted to go to church. Our kids were very young. I was working undercover at the time, and I said, okay, I'm willing to go as an atheist because I figured, hey, I want to please her. So I went, and probably a lot of us go to church for the first time because we have a believing spouse that drags us in. But I didn't want to, I was probably blessed that day because the pastor pitched Jesus in a way that I could catch him. He intrigued me. He said a bunch of things, but the thing that I remember, the only thing I remember from that first day was that he said that Jesus was the most, smartest man who'd ever lived. And as I read through I bought a Bible.
Why did that grab you so much?
I think because I was interested in wisdom. But basically, he also said that he was so wise that the moral teaching of Jesus had become the foundation for Western civilization. And here I was, working as a police officer, enforcing the laws that this pastor now is telling me were grounded in the teaching of Jesus. Really? Let me take a look then and see if that was true. And that's where I spent the first, 6 months. And what I was really encouraged by was the evidential approach that Jesus himself took in the narratives. He would say things like in the Gospel of John where he'll say, hey, if you don't believe what I just told you, at least believe on the evidence of these miracles I've worked in front of you. He would allow Thomas to touch his wounds. He would spend 40 days with the disciples in Acts 1, showing them convincing proofs, evidences. And as I read that, I thought, wow, he seems to be a man after my own heart in the sense that he didn't just make proclamations about visions he'd had.
Investigate me.
Yeah, he's saying, I'm here for you to see publicly to know if this is true.
So as a cold case detective, what was the evidence that transformed your life?
A lot of times it comes down to how we evaluate witnesses. Can we trust? Because you can make an entire case by just calling in witnesses who will tell you what they saw 30 years ago. But we have to evaluate the witnesses to know if they are reliable. So we have a process in place. As I applied that process to the gospel authors, they passed the test. But what that did for me is it gave me a different idea of what faith is. You know, I couldn't understand if faith was unreasonable. If I had to believe things that there was actually evidence that demonstrated they weren't true, then I was out. If I had to believe things even though there was no evidence at all I could examine, then I was really out too. But if you're telling me that faith is really the step you take at the end of an evidence trail, because every evidence trail stops just short of perfect, and you have to make a step of trust based on the evidence. Now, we could call that step faith, but that's really what we're doing here. And by the way, every worldview does this. Even as an atheist, I did this. But I think now, as I've examined this, the step of faith across that unknown boundary is much shorter for Christianity than any other worldview.
Do you think many Christians, sincere followers of Christ, are naive to or even ignorant of the fact that there is so much evidence for the truth of Jesus Christ?
Oh, absolutely. I hate to say that, but I absolutely. I wrote 2 books before this book where I talk about the evidence for Christianity and the evidence for God's existence. And as I travel around the country to make the case to churches, I can't tell you how many churchgoers would come up to me and say, I've never, ever heard any of this. And I've been a Christian for 20 years. Now, I think that they probably have been great Christians too. But there's a difference now in this generation of young people who are walking away from the church in record numbers, who are walking away. When you ask them why they are walking away, most of the largest blocks of answers are some form of skepticism, evidential skepticism. We could actually address that and help this generation if we took a more forensic approach to our faith.
What is wrong, so to speak, with a believer saying, look, I know it's true because of my personal experience and how Jesus has transformed my life?
Well, let's play a little devil's advocate. Okay, I'm a Mormon, and I know Mormonism is true. And I know that your view, it can't be true if my view is true, but I know my Mormonism is true based on the same thing. I was raised in the church, and I've had an experience of the Holy Spirit that confirmed for me that Joseph is a prophet of God, and the Book of Mormon is true. Okay, well, we're now at a we're kind of at a standstill. If all we're going to do is trust our experiences, well, every religious believer, if I'm a Buddhist, if I'm a Mormon, if I'm a Muslim, if I'm a Christian, can come at it that way. But we happen to have the one worldview that is grounded in an historical event called the resurrection. If that didn't occur, none of this is true. But it turns out we could investigate it. And then our answer would be, well, I'm a Christian because I've examined the evidence, and I discovered there was a man who was actually God. God himself came to us and rose from the grave to demonstrate his deity to us. And on the basis of that, we can know with certainty that we have a resurrection coming and that he has the power. The words of God are being spoken by this man named Jesus of Nazareth. That's a very different approach. And I think we need to know if what we believe is transformative, because everyone I know who's on all those other religious worldviews also say they've been transformed. The question is, what's doing it? Is it your imagination? What is different about Christianity? The difference is this is the one evidential theistic worldview. Why wouldn't we want to explain it that way, to portray it that way?
I wonder if sometimes it's laziness. We don't want to do the work to support our belief.
Well, I can tell you that is a part of it, right? Because if you want to become an expert on something, but here's what I always argue. All of us are experts in some area. So if you said to me, well, my favorite team is whatever, you know, your favorite basketball team is, you probably can make an argument for why that team is going to go this far in the playoffs.
Even if you don't really believe it.
Even if you don't really believe it. But you can make a case for it. You know who all the players are. You spend time reading the stat sheets. You read that sports page every single day. You're already investing your time and energy in something. The question is, are you investing it here? Are you investing it in your religious worldview? Are you investing it in the one case that has metaphysical ramifications? Or are you really investing it in the stuff that's fleeting? And that's where I think the challenge is. I don't really want people to spend more time, work harder, just work wiser.
Where does biblical context and the importance of it come in all this?
Oh, it's so huge, right? Because how many times have you said, my experience of Christianity is I get up in the morning, I open the Bible, and wherever I happen to open it, wherever I put my finger, that's the verse that God had for me that day. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but a lot of us do that. And instead of saying, well, look, I'm going to read a case book, if I take one line of the case book out of context, I might convict the wrong guy. I could take one line of his statement and misinterpret his meaning. I have to read everything in the context of the entire case, know the case from front to rear. How many times do we know people who have been Christians for 25 years, but they still haven't read that Scripture cover to cover. They haven't seen the context of the fall to the redemption through Jesus and seen the entire scope of the Old Testament, how it's connected to the New Testament. They haven't even spent the time to do that. Most of us get to Leviticus or so and we're like, okay, it's getting a little tough here. And then we'll skip over to the New Testament. So I think it's time for us to go back and know our casebook.
Yeah. Awesome book. I encourage you all to get it. If you're looking to make your faith more tangible or help others discover evidence for the Christian faith, pick it up. It's called Forensic Faith, and you can find it wherever books are sold. We thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me. I
Thank
appreciate
you for the book.
I appreciate that.
It's terrific. Well, coming up, he was a drug-dealing home wrecker, and he was proud of it.
And it was this weird world, this prideful, weird world that made me feel like, yeah, I was accomplishing something in life.
We're going to find out how he wrecked his own life when we come back. Well, nothing was enough for Juan Martinez. Selling drugs wasn't enough. He wanted to be the best. Getting a husband hooked wasn't enough. He wanted to get the wife hooked as well. Until one day, Juan heard a voice that said, enough.
In the morning, shake your sleep. In the morning, shake your feet. I'm gonna come.
Everywhere I went, I destroyed homes, business owners, lawyers, dentists, and I thought I did it best.
Juan Martinez, an ambitious drug dealer, grew up willing to do anything to feel accepted and prove himself.
Parents got divorced when I was like 8 years old. So I really didn't have a father figure per se. I was looking at outside and what was in movies, and I thought that the toughest guy out there and the guy that had the most money and the most women, that was really the picture of what a guy was like.
Juan started hanging out with the older kids in his New Jersey neighborhood. They introduced him to drugs, and by 13, he was using and selling marijuana and cocaine.
I felt accepted by these guys. They taught me what they knew. They taught me their trade. So I'm thinking, okay, if this is what I need to do, then I had to top everybody. And so that's who I became.
Years later, Juan moved to Texas to expand his territory and was introduced to meth. He started using it and then selling it with one goal in mind.
I wanted to make a lot of money. I was gonna come here, I was gonna do the big score, and I was gonna be one of the main distributors in New York City and New Jersey and all those other states.
Juan began by targeting families in the suburbs. His strategy was to first befriend the fathers.
I know they were drinkers and we'd drink, and eventually, hey, you wanna get high, and get the guy high, and once I got the guy high, that was easy because now I'm invited into his home.
Once Juan got both husband and wife hooked, he became their dealer and moved on to the next home.
I felt I was proving myself to everybody finally. And it was this weird world, this prideful, weird world that made me feel like, yeah, I was accomplishing something in life.
As long as Juan stayed high, he didn't have to think about what he was doing.
I didn't think that the things that I was doing were bad. And if you don't think you're doing anything wrong, you just begin to chase after something that really will never satisfy you, but you chase after it anyway.
One day, Juan was out on a delivery when he heard a voice he didn't recognize.
I'm hearing, why are you killing, stealing, and destroying the very lives I'm giving people? For the first time in my life, I felt horrible. I'm just weeping and crying, right? And then it's like, in a twinkling of an eye, everything stops. I still went and made my deliveries, but there was a thought every time I handed it to somebody, so I would hand it to a woman and I was thinking, man, I'm ruining her life. I would hand it to a guy, man, I'm ruining their life.
Juan had gone to church as a child and believed the voice was God's, but didn't know how to change. A short time later, he was arrested for meth possession and landed in jail, facing a 25-year sentence.
I've hit rock bottom, nowhere else to go, I'm done. I'm at a place now where I don't have anybody.
One night, encouraged by a cellmate, Juan prayed and read the Bible.
Weeping, I got on my knees. I am repenting about everything. I'm literally going to the T and thinking about things that I have done in my life. I was like, I'm sorry, God, I want you in my life. I want this Jesus, you know, I want this.
Juan surrendered his life to Christ and lost all desire for drugs.
I didn't feel like I had to prove anything anymore. I felt like I was accepted, loved. I just felt this love. Something happened. I was never the same again.
Juan's sentence was reduced to 4 years, and he spent his time in prison growing in his faith. Today, he is married and has a family, and as a pastor, goes back to the very neighborhoods he dealt drugs and shares the gospel.
Jesus filled every void. When I didn't have a father, he was my father. Whatever void it is that has you empty, you can fill that void with Jesus. Jesus wants to give you life.
The voice Juan heard was right out of the Gospel of John. I believe it's the 10th chapter. The thief comes to kill and steal and destroy. And that's what the voice said to Juan. Why are you killing and stealing and destroying? He was acting as an instrument of Satan. Jesus goes on to say in that verse, the thief comes to steal and kill and destroy, but I have come that you may have life and have it more abundantly, over-sufficient, plentiful. You know, you may feel in your life like there's no satisfaction. There's nothing you can do to bring you satisfaction or enough pleasure, that there's enough you can chase that will satisfy you. That's normal because that's how we were designed. We were designed that the true satisfaction and pleasure in our life would come through a relationship with God's Son, Jesus Christ. And if you'd like someone to pray for you regarding that relationship, I encourage you to give us a call, 1-800-700-7000. We have many folks here who would love the opportunity to pray with you as you say, I need Jesus in my life. We leave you with Proverbs chapter 28, verse 13. Whoever conceals his transgressions will not prosper, but he who confesses and forsakes them will obtain mercy. I thank you so much for joining us today. Until next time, again, if you need prayer, 800-700-7000 is the number to call. And we're so glad you joined us. We'll see you next time on 700 Club Interactive.